Hello and welcome to Story Hour with Miss Barbara. Before I begin, I would like to light the story candle. Fires bright, fares bright, show to us your golden light. And let's get into our story boats. Mother of the fairy tale, sail me in your little boat, sail me silently afloat, mother of the fairy tale. Take me by your silver hand, take me to your shining land. Once upon a time, when was it? When was it truly not? There was a couple, a man and a woman, who longed very much to have a child. And at long last, the woman began to feel that God had heard her prayer and that she would soon give birth to a child. Now, the house they lived in had a little window up at the top. And one day this woman was standing at the window and looking down into her neighbor's garden. And it was a beautiful garden with many different flowers and herbs. And she loved to stand there gazing at it. But it was surrounded by a high wall because it was owned by an enchantress who was very powerful and and terrifying to all the people who lived there around them. But one day when she was looking into that garden, she saw this bed of lush green rampion. Another word for that is Rapunzel. And she decided that she must have some of that rampion. But she knew that she could never get any, that it was locked away from her. And so she began to pine away with longing for this beautiful herb. And her husband at last noticed what was wrong, that something was wrong, and asked her what the problem was. And she said, I must have some of that rampion in the garden next door, or I will surely die. Well, her husband thought, rather than let my wife die, I will just have to go in that garden and get some, come what may. So that night, just at about dusk, quietly climbed over the wall and crept to that bed of rampion, quickly grabbed a handful, climbed back over, and brought it to his wife. And she greedily gobbled it up. It was so good to her. It was just what she needed. The only problem was that now her desire for it was 3 times what it was before. And she pestered her husband day and night to go get some more. So finally, at about dusk, he climbed over the wall again. But when he got down to the bottom, he looked up in great terror because there was the enchantress standing, glaring at him with 2 fierce eyes. She said, how dare you come into my garden like a common thief? You will pay dearly for this. And he said, oh, please, let mercy replace justice. I had to come here because my wife would die without this rampion." And then her heart was softened a bit, and she said, "Okay, you may come and get some every day for as long as you need it, but on one condition. The child that will be born to you shall belong to me." And the man was so frightened that he agreed to whatever she said. And so when the time came for the baby to be delivered, the enchantress was right there, and she gave the baby, a girl, the name Rapunzel, a beautiful baby girl. And then she took the baby away with her. She had promised that she would take care of it and love it like she was the mother. And so she raised the child, turned into be the most beautiful little girl under the sun. But then when she was 12 years old, the old enchantress took her to a tower that was in the middle of a woods. It had a high window at the top of the tower. And there she must stay. And there was neither door nor stairs to get up to that room at the top of the tower. The only way that the enchantress could come up to visit her was she would stand beneath the window and call out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, that I may climb your golden stair." For Rapunzel had two long golden braids as fine as spun silk, and she would unbind them and let them hang down and wrap them around a hook, and then the enchantress would climb up these two strands of golden hair. And so it went for several years, and Rapunzel had to stay alone in the tower whenever the enchantress wasn't there. But it just so happened one day that the king's son was wandering through that woods, and he happened to hear Rapunzel singing her song as she did to while away her loneliness. And immediately he fell in love with her voice. And so he looked all around the tower. He wanted to come up and see this person that was singing this beautiful song. But he found neither stair nor door. But he couldn't forget the beautiful song. And so every day he came back to the woods and would just sit in the forest and listen. But one day, while he was hidden among the trees, he saw the enchantress coming to visit Rapunzel. And he saw how she stood beneath the window and cried up, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, that I may climb your golden stair." And then he saw how Rapunzel let the braids fall down wrapped around a hook, and how the enchantress climbed up her braids. And he said to himself, "Well, if that is the stairs by which one must climb up, I shall try my luck too." So the next day he came back, but he came just as it was getting dark, and he called out, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, that I may climb your golden stair." And then, just like for the enchantress, the two golden braids of hair fell down, 20 ells down, and the young prince was able to climb up. But when he got up to the top and had climbed into the window, Rapunzel was affrighted, for never in her days had she even laid her eyes upon another human besides Dame Gothel, much less a man. But he spoke kindly to her, and in a friendly voice, and then he asked her if she would be his bride, if he could be her husband. And so she thought, well, he's young and handsome. I think he would love me more than Dame Brothel. So she laid her hands in his and pledged to be his wife. But then she said, I don't know how I will be able to get down from here and join you wherever you live. But she thought about it and she said, I have an idea. Every time you come, bring a skein of silk, and I will weave it into a ladder. And when it's finished, I'll be able to climb down and ride away with you on your horse. And so they both agreed to this plan. And they both agreed that he would come in the evening because Dame Gothel, the enchantress, came during the day. So things were going along well. The ladder was coming along, and the enchantress had no clue about what was happening. But one day, Rapunzel said to her, I wonder why it is, Dame Gothel, that you are so much heavier to pull up. When the young prince comes, he's up here in no time. And then Dame Gothel glared at her and said, You deceitful person! I thought I had kept you locked away from the world, but you have been deceiving me. And in her anger, she grabbed Rapunzel's hair and with one hand and with the other hand, snip, snap, cut off her golden locks. And then in her anger, she took Rapunzel away to a remote forest and let her wander destitute, never to see her again. And that evening, when the prince came and called out, Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair, that I may climb your golden stair. The enchantress wrapped the braids around the hook at the top and let down the hair, and the prince climbed up. But when he got to the top, there was the enchantress staring at him with fierce eyes, saying to him, You have come to find your love, but the songbird, has flown the nest. The cat got her, and she will scratch out your eyes as well. Rapunzel is lost to you. You will never see her again. And these last words pierced the prince's heart so deeply that in pain he leapt from the window and landed in some brambles near the bottom. Though his life was spared, his eyes were pierced by the thorns, and he was blinded. And so he went wandering away, moaning for his lovely Rapunzel, and searching and wandering in the forest. And after some years, he came to the part of the forest where Rapunzel was living. She had 2 children, a boy and a girl, twins. And one day the prince heard her voice singing, and he said, That sounds so familiar. I remember that voice. And so he groped his way towards the sound. But when Rapunzel saw him and what condition he was in, she wept and fell upon him, hugging him, and her tears fell, one in each eye, and suddenly he could see again, and he could see his beautiful Rapunzel, and the dear little twins she had borne. And in great joy he took her back to his palace, where all greeted them with happiness, and there they lived in happiness and contentment all their days. I hope you liked this little story. This was my son's favorite fairy tale when he was growing up. Let's blow out the candle. Ready? And goodbye until next time.